This is iRacing.
Well, the quiet week last week for Jacob Reed with no Valenteus. This week, we've got them all back again. But this is the track where the Temple of Speed is not fast enough for the IMSA Vintage. So they've decided to rip out the first chicane and give us a barn burner of a race. This is round 4 of the IMSA Vintage series live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Well, hello, everybody. I am Craig King, and joining me in the booth today is Joseph Black. In the director's chair will be Daniel Costello, and he will always be using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, this track has hosted everything. Does it really need an introduction? Of course it does. How about we go to Joe Peak for the GSRC track guide?
Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. While the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well-known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years.
Well, Joseph, I'll tell you what, you take out the Variante di Rettifilio, and you just get given a really different beast of a track here.
You certainly do. That main straight becomes all that more valuable. We've just got the 9 turns around this Monza circuit here today in Brianza. And, Curva Biassono becoming turn number 1 will make it just that little bit more crucial for that throttled control through the corner. Then the overtaking opportunities into 2 and 3, the likes of the Seconda Variante, which of course is the first corner on that circuit. It was the Prima Variante, which is that chicane that does not exist today. We do have the 2 chicanes though, that 1, 2 and 3, and then the 6, 7 and 8 of Variante Ascari. So there should be an interesting new challenge for the drivers today.
Yeah, drivers do like running this layout, and it does give a lot of information, a lot of strategy. Sometimes the drivers may want to just cut down some of the wing being all that long straight. Well, one driver that doesn't want to cut away, but mainly cut the deficit, is in the championship standings, because Jacob Reed took the lead of the GTP championship last week ahead of Gabri Martinez. But Valenteus, he took last week as a drop week, so he's not here. He wasn't there. That's why he's 18 points behind. David Ricciardi, real good early season shock here, up into 4th place ahead of the lights. And look at the names behind him. Baron Grau, Laus Olsen. By the way, Laus, good luck in your recovery after another injury. He's in sick. We won't be seeing him for a few weeks. Matthew Cochran will be 7th with Alesijak in 8th. And Timothy Vaughan and Seamus Power, they're both tied, but Vaughan takes a tiebreaker. He'll be in 9th. The GTOs, well, it's kind of a similar story out there.
Yeah, it certainly is. We have Noel Lundberg leading the way on 68 points, 8 ahead of Joran van Hicks, and that gap, it feels smaller than it actually is. And then 26 back to Cal Young, who is equal with Ilka Cottesalo. Then Arturas Kundalis in 5th place, just ahead of Josephine Becker by the 1 point. Romain Bello, Fabian Youngblood, Martin Kreschrik and Taylor Bellant, 9th and 10th level on points, and they round out the top 10 in the GTOs.
Well, that's the championship standings. We have got the juniors, but we'll talk about that later because, like I said, it's round 4 today. So let's go over those details. 40 minutes once again. And it is the open setup. So make your own setup. Use what the community provides. But if you crash, you are done today. So you don't want to do that. Drive-through will be at 17 incident points. Additional penalties, well, it's a disqualification today. So that's going to be a difference factor here. 25 incident points. You could say we may get that, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that today as the drivers currently just working their way through the first lot of qualifying out there. And no surprise, Jacob Reed, I do like that's the old stand there. Look at it, the old stand, and they still got that there, walking over to the pit lane to get to the championship standings. But Jacob Reed leading away, and it is the case. I before E except after C, because it's Timothy Reed, no relation with different names, behind in second as the GTOs are starting. And there's the banking, and let's keep away from the banking. Everybody in the IMSA Vintage community knows what happened the last time we did Monza combined.
Yeah, you want to keep away from the banking at this circuit. Of course, it's been a dangerous one for many, many years, which is why we tend to see a more flat use of the circuit right now. And well, we've got the racing, or the qualifying at least, underway for today's action in the IMSA Vintage Series. Watching the cars fly through, that is the Variante Ascari, and they'll be hoping not to make a mistake on the entry there, because that can cost you so much time, not just through the corner, but on exit as well. The final corner then, heading through Curva Parabolica. This is the number 2. This is Jacob Reed, our current pole man at the moment in the GTP class. And he'll come to the line to finish off what will be his second and final lap. And it won't be at all near his 24.242 that sets him on that pole position time. He's going to park up and head back to pit lane. Audrius Valenteus then, he's not set a lap time so far, and well, he's one of the main contenders, you would imagine, for today's action. And the number 1, the best iRacing in the server, will be hoping to fly his way up to the top. Jacob Reed currently 3/10 ahead of Timothy Reed in second place. Can Valenteus bridge that gap or improve upon it? No, it's only 7th for the time being, and that just seems to be a bit more of a warm-up lap for our number 1.
Yeah, that's a really weird first lap there for Valenteus. Almost a whole second behind Jacob Reed. So must have had a moment out there. Didn't see it myself, but the gold standard has another chance to go. Here's the current champion in the GTOs, Noel Lundberg, looking to find his way through, with Nicky Friesen back again, taking another pole position at the moment, provisional pole, because the number 3 had to come around. Van Hicks as well, 4th. He hadn't had the best of times. Look at Kundelis, sorry. Look at that. Just so close, and now Noel Lundberg will come across the line. He doesn't have another. He has one more lap. He's got to find a 10th over the Bane, because Mickey Friesen's already done his lap. But Valenteus comes down the old bridge into Ascari. He'll go, using a bit too much of the curve there, and more curve as well. This could be interesting. He'll come down, one last corner to go at the Parabolica. Going to need to find all the pace he can out of this. And look at him right now, 293, 295 kilometers an hour as he slams onto the brakes, and around he goes. 3rd gear. What can he get? Keep the downforce in, hard onto there. Will he go tight into the corner to get this? He will. Needs to find a second if he wants to get the pole position. And it's going to be, it's slower. Now that is a shock.
Certainly is. Audrius Valenteus just not living up to what he would have been hoping for, and he'll be further back in the field. And that's going to scare the GTPs further down slightly, because they know they've got a big dog in and around them. Gabriel Martinez, he's improved, and well, he'll be holding on to the front row of the grid now, just a 10th and a half behind Jacob Reed, who set his lap straight away. It was his initial lap on the circuit, and it doesn't look like that's going to be topped. And with 1 minute left to go, Noel Lundberg now, he was the provisional pole sitter right at the very start of the session. He's now seen 4/10 an improvement by Paradigm to find the number 5 on that pole position. Can he snatch it back with his final lap of the session? 40 seconds to go in the session, and he does improve. He's on the front row, but it's not enough. Cal Young holds on to that pole for the time being.
But that's interesting. That's a really good lap time from Lundberg there. And that just goes to show what Cal's done. There are drivers here absolutely shocked that Cal hit a 138.911. And I think the drivers will be calling 911. Well, we're in Europe, it's 112. They'll be calling the police to say that man's just robbed pole position. He'll just come along. We've got no drivers out there taking respective laps, and Hamilton, Barrera, Ruiz will be just on a little bit of a practice. So gives us a chance to go over the 14 GTPs and 15 GTOs. We split again. I'll have those GTPs for you, and it will be Jacob Reed who will be on the pole position today with Gabriel Martinez beside him in P2, followed by Timothy Reed. That's a really good qualifying time for the number 22 there in third. Christopher Ledgerjack will be in fourth with Jack David Spickett. He had a quick disconnect. Hopefully he'll be back in time, but he will start fifth if he gets back in time. Henning Swebeg will be sixth with Jack Wells in seventh. Brendan Lim eighth. And that's the shocker. Valenteus, the number one car, is ninth. Shadi and Mad will be alongside him in 10th. Gives us the time to go over the last four of the GTPs with Javier Mascara on his return this season in 11th. Seamus Power will be 12th. David Ricciardi, 4th in the championship, 13th today. Hamilton, Barrera, Ruiz, the last at the time qualified. In fact, all the last qualifiers here in 14th. Joseph's got those GTOs.
Certainly do, and well, Cal Young appears to have the measure over the GTO field, as he gets a 38.9 to start on that pole position. Noel Lundberg will be alongside him with a 39.1, 2/10 back. Mickey Friesen will be in third place alongside Arturas Kundelis, and then Joran van Hicks and Andreas Schuster will make up the third row of the GTO field. Josh Brain and Fabian Youngblood, and then John Pethick and Cam Potter will round out the top 10, split by about 0.8 of a second. So it's a decently close split right at the top of this field. Josephine Becker finds herself in 11th place alongside Taylor Ballant, and then Roman Bello, Ian Haycox and Silva Yafair round out the 15 GTOs. Have just about outdone the GTPs by one.
Yeah, once again, they've outdone the GTP. Remember, we just split once again. It's always nice to see the splits, and if we didn't have the splits, we'd have 55 cars out here, and the track can take 55. We've seen it in WEC. I don't think the drivers would like it. It's a little bit foggy today, 94% humidity, but it's a cold track. It's 20 Celsius out there, 68 Fahrenheit out there for the track temperature. So that's going to be really good. The strength of field today, well, you're looking at 4.6K. That'd be incredible. 4.6K for the GTPs and 4.3 for the GTOs, and the lights are blaring on the GTP today. These Hall of Fame Nissans out there. This is where the track's going to be interesting, and I did mention it. You don't see it in IMSA Vintage, but in other series, when you take away the first chicane, the question comes: high downforce, low downforce. And if you've got low downforce, it's always going to be a trouble around Ascari, but we're not going to see that today. Still can't get my head around Valenteus in 9th position. Was that a bad setup? We'll never know. We'll know later. GTOs make their way through Ascari. They'll hopefully want to have a little bit of a gap here, because if they have too big of a gap, they'll be starting through the Parabolica, because remember, that start line, it's not the finish line. It's about another 150 meters up the road. So that will mean that when the pace car, the Porsche safety car, comes in, it will be Jacob Reed who leads them by. The GTOs will be waiting to start at the Parabolica, but Jacob Reed has backed them all up. The Worcester man is waiting, and it is an early green flag, and everyone's been caught out. In fact, they're going to fan 3 wide, and the man who makes the best advantage of it is a Ledgerjack. He's on the outside as they come down to the Curva Grande. Now Gabriel Martinez has got the overspeed, and he's going to try and speed through. They're going to go 3 by 3. Now 3, 2, 3. This ain't soccer, lad. This is IMSA Vintage. Gabriel Martinez takes them through the Curva Parabola, through the Curva Grande, and who will be as they come to the first chicane? Well, it's going to be side by side, and Ledgerjack tries to hold on. He does, and there's a big spin up in the back. Valenteus is caught out. The GTOs are coming shortly. It's
certainly are, and it is going to be Noel Lundberg who led from the start, but Cal Young was able to retake that position that he was able to pick up in qualifying. Mickey Friesen tried to challenge Lundberg, but nobody able to challenge Cal Young ever since right at the very start of the race. He looked like he nailed it, and he's almost built up a second's worth of a gap for the GTOs. It's a lot closer in those GTPs though. Alexander now leads that split, and it's going to be a very, very entertaining one. Cal Young, though, looks like he has the measure over this GTO field, but you never quite know. 40 minutes does remain in the session, so anything could really happen with them. And, well, at the moment, he's got the measure. Mickey Friesen desperate to get through on Lundberg for that second place for the time being. Looking further back in the field, that's going to be Josephine Becker right in the thick of it, and trying to pressure Josh Brain right ahead as we're going to end the first lap here, and it will be Alexander who leads.
It will be a Lesnachak. Everyone moves up. Shadi and Mads moved up 6. That's right, 6. Helps a lot. Unfortunately, Jack David Spickett, if you're here, turn the candles on, put 50p in the machine. He had a power outage. He might be able to come back on, but Jacob Reed doesn't need a power outage. He's electric, and he will take back the position. And will Lesnachak respond to this? He decides it's not worth it at the moment. I feel this is going to be the thing. Hello, some drivers going a little bit slidey. With that, Valenteus getting caught out there. Valenteus getting caught out again. And it was under brake. No, he broke in, and ahead of him, which I think it was Jack Weld, just a little bit too hard for him. Mickey Friesen will now go to the inside of Noel Lundberg, and this is the battles we'll be expecting to see side by side in the GTOs through the Curva Grande. Friesen takes to that P2. Gonna try and catch up with Cal Young, though. Really interesting start.
Certainly, it's also very interesting to see the perspective of the driver, not just the virtual man we could see in the car, but also the man that we can see at home racing, and that's exactly what we've got with Mickey Friesen, the number 10 at the moment, who goes slightly wide and may well be coming under pressure from Lundberg back as he ran wide out of the second of the Les modes and through Curva del Saraglio. He might come under pressure, and he will drop down a position, maybe even 2 if Kundelis can get this one right on the brakes, but he might have been boxed in, and in the end Mickey Friesen slots himself back into that 3rd place, looking to recover from that mistake. Jacob Reed, fastest lap of all, the 25.4, as that's another wide moment in the middle of that GTO pack, and that might be a couple of positions lost as well for John Pethick. He's dropped back behind Becker and Paul, and that looks like it's another couple of positions. Indeed it is. Fabian Youngbluth, Josh Brain, and now it is Cam Porter who's made his way through. Gabri Martinez. This is the battle for 2nd place in the GTPs. Alej Nasak has dropped back a couple over the last couple of laps and looks to rebuild that momentum.
Yeah, really good momentum. He had to take advantage at the start, and he did, but Martinez getting back to P2, trying to catch up. Now let's see what the GTOs do here, and early days in the race. So the moment we get to see what happens in the GTPs, we can't look at how they finish because the GTOs then come to the straight and into the Curva Grande. So we have to just wait a moment to see what happens and look at them. Naturally, that's a Serpentine. Realistically, that's the Audi just tracking out a little bit as they go really wide, because you take away that first chicane, Curva Grande is really flat, and for these GTOs, they have to have a little tap of the brake. Valenteus with an apology out there. I think that was what happened earlier in the race with a moment out there. It's very rare to see Valenteus having to key up an apology, but Kundelis still looking. And if you've never watched IMSA Vintage, this is the GTO train. They'll happily swap positions if they've got the momentum. But apart from that, they're just going to stay like this until the leaders and the multi-class aspect hits the track. And at that moment, well, we've got to wait another couple laps for that to happen. The delta today is 14 seconds between classes.
It really throws something into the mixer in not just the GTO race, but also the GTPs, because it's more difficult to get through than you'd expect with that 14-second delta, because you have to pick your opportunities. They're not just going to fly out the way, let you go, as that looks like that may well be a problem for Arturas Kundelis, who drops to the rear of the GTO field. Not sure what's happened to that number 8. But it was not a very good moment for himself, and he's now right down the back of the order, and it might have opened up the door for Andreas Schuster to challenge for this P3. Of course, cannot go for the overtake in the chicane because we are not using the chicane layout in turn 1. Doesn't quite have such a slow speed moment and just allow Schuster to be later on the brakes instead. He's got to make sure that he's settled out of the corner and try to set himself up into the next braking zone, Segundo Variante, and well, on this occasion, he's not quite close enough to really try and shape up a move.
Yeah, what happened there to Kundelis? He tried to make a move going into the Parabolica on Mickey Friesen, and unfortunately, just taking too much speed, the car just washed out, and he had a little bit of a tap there and got spun around. He got pit maneuvered by a move of his own as Brendan Lim looks to go around, get past Shadi Ahmad. I think as well, Valente is getting past Javier Mosquera at the same time. His recovery drive has started, but this is really uncharacteristic for the gold standard. And, you know, we say it quietly nowadays, but it's possible. You look at the you look at the Triple Crown of Vintage Racing. He took one win this morning. He won the 749. If he won today, you'd have to have all eyes tomorrow at Spa. That could rain in the 79 for him to try and get the Triple Crown. I don't think he'll be able to, but at the moment, he's already 7.5 seconds behind Jacob Reed, who has broken the toe of Gabriel Martinez. And now he's got to look at this group. Shadi Ahmad, Brendan Lim, Seamus Powell, all in a line. Brendan Lim in the purple car having a little bit of a tweak through the Parabolica, and a great run from Valenteas. He may have to go around the outside of Seamus Power. Seamus may be smart to this, and he is lifting. Why fight the man when you know if you fight, you're going to be losing out on this group? So really smart there from Power to back off.
Certainly so, you'll be losing a lot of time, and if you pick up the opportunities, then you can be right in there. We get a GSRC replay of exactly what happened to Arturus Kundelis, the car on the inside into Parabolica, and it just looks as though he may well have had an issue with just sliding a little bit wider than he was hoping to go, and that was going to be that for Arturus Kundelis in that fight, and an unfortunate racing incident for himself. And he's going to try and pick himself up back right from the rear at the moment, and very, very disappointing. Andres Valenteas, another driver who had an incident earlier on, trying to recover, and he's made his way through. He's made light work of these three drivers that are just behind him. No, it can't be easy because they are all very talented drivers in their own right, but Valenteas has flown his way past, and now is 5th place, chasing down Wells for P4.
Yeah, and the gap is starting to shrink a little bit because Jacob Reed just had to serve a slowdown. So he's allowed a Lenzacek because Christoph overtook Gabriel to get into the toe as we're watching Valenteas. And now things get interesting as I look at my track map, because Jacob Reed is 2 seconds away from the back of the GTO field. And that's the three GTO drivers at the back. Some of them side by side. They're almost 3 wide. Jacob's going to have to find a way. Thankfully, into the track with a lot of space. Joffik decides to push Kundelis. Kundelis, he doesn't want to move. He wants to make sure Reed's got a clean line. Oh, my word. Kundelis almost got spun from Joffik trying to make a push there. Trying to do what he can because that's still damage on the back of Kundelis' car after that mishap. Joffik's going to take that to his advantage. Now comes the interesting part. Here comes the lead GTP joined by Gabri and Christoph. Get through cleanly. Everybody breathe for a moment. Welcome to multi-class.
Certainly so. I mean, that's the first corner on this racetrack, and with the amount of speed that the GTPs can carry, it can get very, very scary. Looking in the background, that was Jack Wells going a little bit wide as he tried to take the opportunity to go close to the GTOs, but I think got a little bit too close and scared himself out of the way. This is exactly what you mentioned earlier, Craig, about the bunching of the GTO field really affecting the fights of the GTPs, and Alejnizak is now right under pressure from Gabriel Martinez, but I don't think they can go for moves simply because there are GTOs, there are Audis all over the circuit, everywhere they look. They're in the thick of it right now, and they need to get through as soon as they possibly can to take the advantage for themselves. And oh, don't forget, the Audi GTO field, well, the top two are fighting. They're not going to let these guys hop by in a hurry. They're not going to yield at any point soon if they don't have to. And it's going to be very interesting to see as Martinez chooses the lower line. Alejnizak chooses the higher one. It looks like Martinez has chosen the right one to stay ahead, but Alesnisak has managed to slingshot himself out of Parabolica, slingshot himself alongside, and with how long this back straight is, this main straight even, they'll go through where the chicane would have been, they'll head down to Curva Biosotto, and there will be a fight on for that position, and it looks like Martinez might have taken it.
Christoph, they tapped as they went off. Christoph was half the car on the gravel and had to just make a basic reaction, pulled away. Brilliant. Lost the position to Jack Wells. Now got to battle Wells. Now got to battle Valenteas. While that was happening, the Audis were going 2x2 as Cal Young had to defend against the Johan Van Hicks. In fact, there they are right now as Van Hicks trying to find his way through with Noel Lundberg still behind. Lundberg, remember, down one. Seamus Power now getting past Shadi and Mad in the GTPs, as you can see on the timing tower. So now we come to the interesting part of the race. They've had the majority of the front runners of the GTPs through. And as you just see in the background, there's Seamus Power looking for the opportunity to just slide in. He's going to be losing time, but is he going to be losing more time than Shadi and Mad out there? And Mad now has to deal with, can he get past all three of these? Seamus could be able to get through as we go onto the wing. Take a left, take a right, take a side-by-side, and they go straight on through. And Mad get through cleanly. So the lead GTO pack don't have to worry too much until the next battle comes through. Barrera Ruiz, Mascara, and Timothy Reed going by. Not the best of start for Reed, trying to make a recovery. Hello, let's go 2x2. Welcome to Monza.
So it's going to get very close bump drafting between Cal Young and Johan Van Hicks as they head down the straight. And, well, if Van Hicks wanted to be on the inside, he couldn't be because there were so many GTPs there. And by the time he got the opportunity, it was squandered by the fact that the corner was coming up. And Cal Young now holding on to the position. This is further down in the GTP field. They're still trying to recover their bearings after heading through on all the GTOs. Timothy Reed is going to be right in behind Hamilton Barrera Ruiz in this one, and ninth place is chasing 8th at this point in time. There's a number of those cars right in that battle. In fact, it's all the way down to 13th, but not all the way down to the end of the GTP field, because I can report that Jack David Spickett's back in the race and Josephine Becker's back on the circuit, and well, that was a moment where she would be wanting to get that out of her mind very, very quickly. Off in one of the Lesmos and dropping down one position. Could have been worse for Josephine Becker, so I think in that sense she can count her lucky stars if she's not any further back. Nikki Friesen looking for an inside line on Cam Porter. They're getting very close to the side of the 27, but they've managed to get through Ascari, and now he'll try and set himself up for Parabolica.
Right, let's go back. Josephine Becker losing it, trying to go around the outside the Lesmos on Mickey Friesen. Some would argue she probably didn't leave enough room for Mickey, and Mickey unfortunately got a little bit of a tank slapper on the curb and touched to the side of Josephine, was not in a bit of control. Kundalis has just taken a tow as well. He's got a lot of damage on the back of his car. I think he's had a little bit of issues out there with the damage and decided there's too much there to keep going. What has Friesen got? He's got Fabian Youngler right beside him. He's going to hope that Cam can get a little bit of a bump. Another log tap onto the back of Cam. And thankfully, that's not some of his woodwork on the back of that car, so Mickey can hit it as hard as he can without it breaking. But meanwhile, Fabian just decides, I'm going to go by. There was no run there for Mickey to try and make the move. Real smart there, Fabian getting that done. But at the front, it's all changed. Van Hicks back into the lead of the GTOs, and it's going to be like this. It's going to be a little bit of the Mad Hatter's tea party. It's going to be changed places every minute 40 in the GTOs. Meanwhile, Valenteas, well, he's 6 seconds behind Jacob Reed, and he's got the rest at the front of the field right in front of him. Martinez, Wells, Alesnachak, Valenteas. Who wants those last two spots in the podium? Well, who wants the last spot? Because Valenteas is going to make sure he gets to Jacob Reed.
He certainly is. He's going to do his damn best to try and get right up there, and he is much quicker than the rest of these cars. For reference, the quickest of the three in front last time was Gabri Martinez, who managed to sneak into a 25.990. Valenteas, he managed to set himself a 25.85, so he's quicker than these other drivers by a tenth and a half at minimum. So that's just the pace advantage he finds himself with, as he's really locked in on this circuit after the mistake and then the poor qualifying from earlier on. The poor qualifying by his incredibly high standards, as he still found himself within the top 10. And, well, still trying to gain position. This is a side-by-side moment between Henning Schwebig and Brendan Lim. Schwebig on the inside, able to get through nice and cleanly, and somehow managed to keep it on the circuit. Went very, very close to the gravel there, which would have killed his momentum, and he would have seen himself drop back. But no, instead Henning managing to hold on to it, and the number 13 Antarctica representative moves up into the top 10 in the GTP field.
Yeah, I gotta feel sorry. Everyone give a shout out to Daniel today on the cameras as he's watching Valenteus go up another position, because while that is all happening, it's been changed places again in the GTOs. You can see it on the timing tower. Cal Young got by. Noel Lumbo stays in P2 and Schuster goes up. I think Mickey Friesen got past Cam Porter as well. So everybody just changing positions, but it's tough to really keep your eyes on such a track like this, especially when you've got a Leatherjack right behind Valenteus, looking to see if he wants to make any decide. It's not worth battling until they come down to the chicane. You just see there are just battles everywhere on track at the moment. There is no person driving on their own on the track right now, except for one man, one driver, and it's the leader of the race, it's Jacob Reed. Everybody's got to put Buddy to work with, and we all know the Buddy system is the best system as Noel Lumberg. He's got a couple buddies there right now. Had a really good, well, he didn't really have the best of runs because Van Hicks managed to lose out to the lead, but Lumberg only went up one place. He's going to have a really good time to make this now. Remember, the start-finish line is at the end of the lap, so now this is old school GTO. He's decided, no, it's not worth fighting you. I don't have the run. I'm going to bump draft you. Let's just keep pushing. Let's just make it the four of us at the end of the race. We're not even halfway.
Yeah, they're managing the race now for later on, and that is a really, really powerful weapon that they've got to break away from the likes of these drivers. Mickey Friesen leading this pack, including Fabian Youngblood, Cam Porter even, and Josh Brain. And at the moment it is Youngblood defending from Porter. So it may well be a little bit of a different approach taken by these drivers. They want the quickest one in the lead of the pack, whilst in that lead pack, Cal Young might not be the quickest at this point in time. Definitely not if you have a look at the difference between their speeds down the main straight, as Valenteus has just made his way onto the GTP podium. The number 1 is now in number 3 and will be chasing Gabriel Martinez for second place. But we keep our eyes on this fight between Fabian Youngblood and Mickey Friesen. Is he going to take the opportunity, or is he going to fall back into the clutches of Cam Porter? It looks like they've found a stalemate for now, as we watch on right behind them on the exit of Variante Ascari.
Out of Ascari they go again, and I think Fabian's going to look for the move. He had the run. I don't think there's going to be much. Actually, Porter, on the move on Youngblood there. Both got red and white cars. Come on, guys. Can we be more color coordinated? One of them's American. Should he be wearing all white? Actually, there's white there on Cam. I always know that. He's Canadian. Good to see Cam racing again. He's got that position. And the key thing here in this little battle is he's still in the slipstream of Mickey Friesen. So that's really going to help. Leaders side by side. That's interesting. That's Noel Lumberg going side by side with Cal Young. And you'll see in a moment just up the road that it's Lumberg and Young. Well, I can't say it because you can see that Noel has the lead. That's really a tongue twister, Lumberg and Young. But you see Lumberg decides it's best to just lift, yield, side by side though, through the Curva Grande. Always tough in a car with downforce, and Mickey Friesen's in a car with a lot of damage, trying to make this around the outside of the Variante del Rogia on Cam Porter, and he's managed to hold on side by side with this, and Mickey's now looking to see if he can hold side by side through Lesmo 1 and see they stay in Italia, and now he'll go to Lesmo 2. No, it's Cam Porter who gets it. You can't make it. Real work there, and now a Leatherjack with a moment out there through the Lesmo 1 that was actually getting caught out by a slow GTO returning to the track.
For Christophe Leznjak, who drops down to 5th, was in the fight for the podium, is no longer, and you wouldn't imagine he's going to be able to build up that 7.5 second gap again. Cars off of the circuits right here, right now, as Cam Porter is right in the thick of this fight, and he's in the lead of it at this moment, but who knows who's going to be in the lead of those few in right behind. Mickey Friesen is chasing, and well, have a look at these. The GTPs have caught right back up. Action. He's going to stop right here. Audrius Valenteus has gotten through on Gabri Martinez and is in second place. Is Gabri going to be able to pick up the slipstream down the straight to be the first driver to really give the Ukrainian a fight ever since that mistake earlier on in this race? It doesn't look as though he's got it for this moment in time. It does, though, look as though in the background Mickey Friesen is going to have the measure of Cam Porter, and he makes his way through into 5th place, but Valenteus remains in second. The next braking zone, the next overtaking opportunity will be into Seconda Variante, and well, it's not going to be on for Gabri Martinez as the GTPs make their way through once again.
Don't know if anyone can hear a whistle going off. It's the pressure cooker. It's the pressure kettle, sorry. And that's now starting to boil. And that's the whistling sound you can hear because Jacob Reed has lost a second and a half to Valenteus. You can see it on the timing tower. We're watching Seamus Power starting to catch up. So that's going to be an interesting battle coming up. Power still looking through. He's trying to dice his way through. And now, that second and a half, well, let's just add another second back. Martinez having to get held up there. It's now Valenteus, 2 seconds. And there's Jacob Reed. There's Valenteus. I did not expect Valenteus, after that qualifying, after that moment through the Variante de Rogia, I did not expect him to be back up here. But spinning car, big crash, and that was Schwebig going into the back of the right barrier. Reed having a bit of a spin, and Lim and Schwebig had nowhere to go except for straight into the side. Not what anybody wants to see, and the back of the field spreads out.
That's exactly what can happen at the end of the Variante Ascari if you're not careful, but I mean, you have no real room to be careful, which is the issue with that corner, and that's why it's such a big corner to not make a mistake in, as well, these drivers, they've not made a single mistake. They've not put a foot wrong all race long in the GTOs, and Cal Young still holding on to the lead for the time being. Lundberg, Van Heesch and Schuster all within a second of each other, so it's incredibly tight right here, right now, and 17 minutes left to go in the session. You wouldn't imagine they're going to be making moves just because of the nature of the way that they race in the GTOs until the last 5. So they just remaining locked in battle, waiting for a mistake from any single one of them, and that may be the mistake they're waiting for. Cal Young into the grass, into the gravel, but not going to be punished, I don't think. Jacob Reed, though, he's got light and day between himself and Audrius Valenteus. But, I mean, Craig, you made a big mistake in that you doubted Audrius Valenteus post-qualifying. And, well, he's on his way. He's on his route to prove you wrong. 2.2, the gap between the leader and the second place. And I think we're going to have a fiery end to our race around Brianza.
Well, we'll have to keep eyes on the timings because they are in clear air right now. 25.3 for Reed, 25.5 for Valenteus. And we've got to go to the GTOs. Lumbo's just been spun around, holds the car, but he just gets tapped from Shadi Ahmad. This is big, not just due to the fact he's losing positions. Look at the timing tower. If it hits 1, you're in trouble. And Cal Young has managed to snap the elastic band. Lundberg survives, and that was a messy parabolica there by all means for the GTP, trying to find a way. Lundberg manages to get the drift going in these, well, they're rally cars really when you think about the Audi GTO. Managed to hold it. Unfortunately, lose it out into 4th position. All that work done, but Cal has a big gap now. I know 7/10 doesn't sound big, but now he has to basically drive on. And if you have a mistake like Van Hicks just had through the Variante de Rogia, well, that's going to allow Young to really start to pull ahead. Usually the slipstream around here, about 1.2 in a GTO. You get the very tail end. So you're going to be hoping that you can come on by. Cam Porter will now hit the battle. And look at that, Cam is fully focused. And look at the course correction. That's a good time there, but he is hyper-focused.
I don't think we would have noticed how big of a correction if it was if we hadn't had that Cam on Cam. So it's just so interesting to see things like that where he's been able to keep the car pretty much in a straight line by literally steering 90 degrees at least to the left. So it's a very, very, very interesting perspective that we can get, and we might be seeing Cam being overtaking here. He's so very locked in. He does not want to let this one slip. And, well, Mickey Friesen is going to push him all the way to the line, you would imagine. And, well, it's just about not making mistakes at this point in time. We saw an issue earlier on for a driver fighting for the podiums in the GTP class. Hopefully we won't be seeing the same thing, but this isn't even for the podium, this is for 5th place. And, well, I mean, a mistake from those fighting for the podium. Suddenly, this is a fight for P3. That could be the case very soon. That's a huge run from Josh Brain. Not just getting past 1, getting through on 2. And an incredible exit out of the Parabolica for Josh Brain. Sees him move up 2 positions. Mickey Friesen and Cam Porter dispatched like nobody's business.
Well, you buy one, you get one free. I said you buy one, you get one free. And that's what Josh just did with the slipstream there. Look at Cam. I think a lot of the reason he's having some course corrections there, he is dripping in sweat. And if you ever thought that sim racing is not an active workout, look at Cam Porter right now. This man is fighting. And do you blame him? He's got Mickey Friesen, top driver right behind him. He's got Josh Brain. This is just close. The drivers know earlier in the week it had been a tough week for racing. So they know just how tense it is. Giving a little bit of a bump there for Josh. Josh wasn't ready for it. That's what it looked like to me there. But these drivers really been struggling in the racing this weekend. I'd like to say struggling in the heat. Canada is a bit cold right now, like most of Europe. But he's not really having that much of an issue. He tried to go for the move. The door has been left open from Josh. He's got the run, but he'll have to do it around the outside of the Parabolica. He gets it. We're just looking at Gabriel Martinez. There he is, gets it. Josh decides it's not worth it. Smart play. 13 minutes to go. Josh can still retake that position because remember, the finish line is here, roughly. A little bit later, but there's Schuster trying to make the move. They've got to the back of Cal Young, all of them back together. That little moment did not affect them as much as I thought. And also, you're keeping an eye on that timing tower. Valenteas is losing a lot of time to Jacob Reed. We'll come back to that later, but we've got to keep our eyes on Mickey Friesen now. Looking for the move, and Cam Porter responds. Side by side, they'll go through the Curva Grande, and Fabian Jungblöf just decides it's worth just looking at because Mickey gets that position back.
He does. Mickey Friesen P6 for himself at this point in time. It's a different way of fighting than the GTOs have really seen, just because it's actual aggression. They are really showing aggression, whereas before it's about pinpoint precision usually in these cars. But now today, with the way that this race has panned out, where they don't really have a fight on for the top 4, 9.6 separating Josh Brain and 4th place Noel Lundberg, and then they don't really have any pressure from behind, the split being 3.2 back to Josephine Becker, then they can just really focus on each other. And I'd imagine that gap was a bit bigger before they really started scrapping away. This is for near the rear of the GTP field, near it's actually the rear of those who haven't had issues. Davide Ricciardi and Javier Mosquera fighting away for this one. Brendan Lim involved as well, but just slightly ahead of them, and Ricciardi is able to hold on 2/10 for the time being as we have a switch for the lead. Joran van Hit is through. Andreas Schuster's going to get through as well. Cal Young is going to try and fight with all of his might to hold on to the lead that he once held, and that means going for the higher line, but it doesn't mean holding on to the position because Van Hixie had that overspeed and made his way through. Lundberg now through on Schuster, and that is the podium completely flipped on its head.
Now, I do like what Schuster did there. He could have forced it free wide, was not worth forcing it free wide. Play it safe. Decided that he would give a bump draft. I don't think he expected to lose out like he did. Now we're seeing Josephine Becker making moves. So I don't think he expected to move and lose what he did. Regardless, it happened. And he had to just deal with the fact that he's still down in P4, just off the podium. But Josephine Becker continues on through. I'm keeping my eyes on what's happening in the GTPs as well, because Jacob Reed is now through what could be the last time through the pack. So that's going to be interesting to see. Cam Porter continues to look on. Cam didn't have the best of times this by through. Couldn't make a move on, but the man is really working. That track temp, by the way, has gone up only by a smidgen. 21 Celsius now. That's 70 Fahrenheit for those in North America. I think that's Cam was looking for a move there, but wisely, I think Cam saw what's there in the relative. It's the Worcester man, the green and yellow. Jacob Reed comes on through, and he spun! He has spun the car! And he has lost the lead! And for the second time in 2 seasons, a round goes free with a mistake, and Valenteus, it's making me eat my words.
Certainly is a huge moment from Jacob Reed. The first time we've seen that man slip the entire race weekend long, and he drops down from first to third. That's how high the expectations are. That's how highly he was holding himself, and in fact a little bit of contact between himself and one of the cars in that pack means that Jacob Reed is going to have to fight his way right back up. Gabri Martinez right ahead, but you can see Jacob's head has slightly gone. He's gone off into the gravel right there. He's just got to pick himself up, get his way through the GTOs finally, and then climb back up. At a huge moment in this race. And Audrius Valenteus, he's earned that luck. He's got that luck. He's got this lead.
There are some times you look and say it's fate. And the last time that happened for Jacob, I said Valenteus needed divine intervention. This is not divine intervention. Jacob just found a part of the track that didn't have the grip. He went around the outside, through the parabolica. It's a normal move for these cars. And he just lost it there on the throttle. The gap now 5 seconds. He's trying to catch up to Gabri Martinez as well. And with no offense to Gabri, I don't think Gabri's got anything for Audrius. I think it's Jacob. Jacob has to get past Gabri. That's not as easy as it sounds out there. So keep your eyes on that. Mickey Friesen, not where he wanted to be today. Remember, he started third, and he's not in that lead pack, because that lead pack is right here. The top 3 all trying to work. The top 4, sorry, all trying to work. They're trying to almost going 2 by 2. But Van Hicks slides in and takes that lead back. Cal Young is there, and it's crazy. You look at the positions gained in the top 4. Up 4, down 1, up 3, down 2. It does not matter. Gabri Martinez is being very brave, and he just shot the hole to make it through. Jacob's going to wait. Jacob may just cause an issue here. That's also Jack Wells going through. And now, as you just see, that gap is spread. Van Hicks has got a little bit of a buffer right now. Half a second between him and Cal Young.
Half a second is probably the biggest that has been for about 20 minutes, the difference between the leader and the GTOs and second place. And Cal Young will be hoping to bring it down as soon as he can. He will have the effect of a little bit of slipstream, but because he's further back, he won't quite have as much as he would if he was right under the rear wing of the GTO ahead of him. But we will see continuing on for the last 7 minutes of this race, and it's been very difficult to look away just because of how much action there has been all throughout. Jacob Reed, this story was his to write, this story was his to tell, but Audrius Valenteus, well, he wrote a spin-off all of his own, and he's just waited for Jacob Reed to spin off by himself. Good save in the end, to be fair to him, to not go careering into the wall. And well, the number 2 holds on to the podium for the time being. This is the fight for the podium in the different class, the GTOs, and now Cal Young is alongside Jeroen Van Hicks. He's going to try and fight his way through. Andreas Schuster is going to try and take the opportunity. He'll pick up that slipstream, but that turns into a bit of dirty air into Curva Grande, which means that he's not able to just pick up that momentum and get...
Sorry to interrupt. Martinez has got damage. Martinez is gone. Sorry to interrupt. Martinez is out of the race, and he's lost it on his own. This is a big development here, because that gives Jacob Reed 6 minutes to find 5.5 seconds in the GTP battle. This is a big development. Martinez lost it on his own here through the Variante del Roggia. Just got too much grass and too much curve on the exit. Lost the rear of the car. His day is done. That's a big shock as we keep our eyes on Fabian Youngblood trying to catch up to Cam, to Mickey, to Josh. I don't think he's got anything left in it, but now comes the game of chess. We all like chess, don't we? I don't like chess. I can't play chess. But they're going to have to start playing chess out there to work out in these battles who they want to work with, where they want to be. Because right now, if I'm Cal Young, I don't want to be leading when it's the penultimate lap. These GTOs are on lap 21 of 25. So they'll be starting lap 22, and Schuster has to just yield another position. They've got a few laps to work this out. If you're leading on the penultimate lap, you're not winning the race.
No, No, it really doesn't feel like that's the case with the way that you can pick up so much momentum out of Parabolica if you nail that corner. And they're going to go 2 by 2 into the first for the lead of this race. It was Yoram's just a moment ago, and Cal Young is going to try and make his way through. Andreas Schuster trying to involve himself in the fight ahead rather than behind. Noel Lundberg still keeping a tyre in alongside the number 6. They remain fighting down to Segunda Variante, but I think it's going to be Joram van Hicks who holds on to the position. Indeed it is. Cal Young in behind, just slots in, and Andreas Schuster not quite enough overspeed to catch up to the 5 and to be alongside enough to overtake. So these 4, they're looking aggressive, but then it's just all about that precision. It's all about making that right decision. There's no real risks being taken, even if they are heading side by side. And that's the power of being such talented drivers like they are. It's just about picking your moment. And this might be the moment for Cal Young. He's right under the rear view mirror, but he's not quite taking the opportunity just yet. 3:49 left. And, well, it does feel as though, I think you're right, you don't want to be in the lead of this one at this point. You want to be right in behind, about a 10th back as they'll cross the line.
Let's talk NASCAR. Why am I talking NASCAR? I'm talking NASCAR because what I've been seeing with Schuster. And the last few times, Schuster's been in this position, as Brendan Lim just he's patient to come around. They don't want to repeat of what happened with Jacob Reed. Because Schuster's been the man that's been pushing a car. Now, that's been helping the man he pushes when he gets here. So now he's got to make a choice. Is Schuster going to push Van Hicks? Is he going to push Cal Young? Well, he doesn't know this time. For some moment, he thought he could go 3 wide there for a moment. But this is the first time he's been able to hold on to P3. He's just going to watch these 2 go side by side. And around the outside of the Curva Grande is better for Van Hicks. Well, that's big. Now, is Lundberg going to make a response on Schuster? Schuster sees it, Schuster yields. But this is where you start to see this NASCAR game. This game of helping another driver out because you want to push to just hold on and get back to this. The timing, 4.3 seconds. Valenteus is on the penultimate lap. It was a 25-2. It was a 26-1 last time. He will get traffic next time by. Oh, wow, Jacob Reed is 4/10 faster.
Jacob Reed, 4/10 faster. And, well, that's just so very good to see that he's pulling out that pace at the end of this race. He has really, truly locked in. And that 24.8 is going to be the fastest of times in this session, and it looks like that's most likely going to stay that way as well. 4.9 behind Valenteus, 1.8 ahead of Jack Wells. What could have been for Jacob Reed, but the Briton can still be decently happy with a 2nd place, all things considered. The recovery drive has been pretty decent, and well, he's going to try and hold on to it right now. 1:44 left, so not long left to go, and well, it's still yet to be decided. The top 4 in the GTOs, especially the GTP races, has had its fair share of drama, and it looks like it's passing it over to the other class as Cal Young takes the lead of it, and Joram van Hicks is going to be right in behind. He's got Noel Lundberg right under his rear view, and is he going to be able to pull alongside? Not quite into the first corner. Noel just decides that that's not going to be his move that he needs to make at this point in time. And, well, Van Hicks is going to try and keep a tyre in on Young, but it's not quite going to be successful. This has been the case throughout this race, where they haven't quite been able to keep a tyre in. Half a tyre, not quite enough. And as we tick over to the final lap, well, they're going to have to get a bit more ballsy.
Need to get more ballsy, as Valenteus will be coming around one more time. And looking at the gaps, I don't think he's going to be lapping the leaders. And knowing the leaders, they don't like to actually affect a battle if they know it's on their last lap, and getting held up here does help. Interesting development. Jack Wells just got past Jacob Reed as well, so that's going to be interesting for the end of this. This is actually, even though we know Valenteus has taken a drop, this is drop implications and championship implications. Seamus Power trying to go around the outside of Timothy Reed, and that Jack Wells, by the way, will have to get that position back. He actually got a slowdown. Seamus Power holds on to Timothy Reed. Everything is going on right now. You're not missing anything when it comes to the GTOs. They're about to start their penultimate lap. Small slide there from Valenteus. Had a little bit of a heart in the mouth moment there. But this has been absolute carnage for a man that couldn't get a qualifying lap down. A second slower than Jacob Reed. But this, and 2 incidents, this, though, is why he's the gold standard. It will be 2 from 2 today for Valenteas. The Triple Crown is on, but Monza rings Valenteas' name. And when we get to the GTOs, very crucially, Van Hicks, as they come to the chicane, is in the lead.
It certainly is. Monza sees its fair share of dramas. It's one of the most dramatic circuits on the racing calendar, and Valenteas has caused drama in GTPs, and now it's down to the GTOs to see the end of this race. Schuster and Lundberg tried to go for fights on Young and Van Hicks, but couldn't quite hold the candle to them as they tried to go alongside. Now it looks like there's a 6/10 gap between the top 2 and the second 2, so they've filtered out into their own fights as they come down to the final few corners. Just 4 to go. It's the 3 in Ascari and the 1 in Parabolica, and Van Hicks holds on ahead of Young for the time being, into and therefore out of the first 3. So it's just one more opportunity for Cal Young to take the victory in this GTO field. He's going to pick up the slipstream. You can see him gaining. It's by 5,000 every single time he passes split, and he's going to pull to the outside. Van Hicks defends the inside. Young's later on the brakes. He turns in. There's contact between the 2. Small slides. Neither of them have a dramatic difference in pace, but Cal Young just a little bit too much, and he is going to succumb the position to Joran Van Hicks, who holds on in the GTOs and takes the victory. Cal Young second place. Lundberg gets through and Andreas Schuster on the line, or does he? Because the timing screen had a little bit of a glitch out. Schuster does pick up third place at the end. Contact right at the very end. Mickey Friesen is going to come through to pick up 6th place. Youngblood and Porter came together, and it looks like in the end it's going to be Youngblood who takes 7th and Porter who takes 8th. But drama all throughout, and a grandstand finish in front of the Tifosi in the grandstands to finish off this round of IMSA Vintage, and it's certainly been vintage.
Johan, you got the victory. That was the victory you wanted last week. You didn't get it. You got it this week. And I know there is a lot of relief on your face. That was a tense race. I was just watching your stream as well, just to see if there'd be any celebration. It was relief more than anything. But let's get to those standings, because the hard charger is Valenteas today. He's made up 8 places. He did not do a last to first. He had 2 incidents out there, and he takes the victory from Jack Wells. Yes, Jack Wells, because Jacob Reed, I believe, had a little bit of fuel issue out there and had to also make a recovery. He'll come home in 3rd. Well, Jack started 4th and finished in 4th. Up 7 for Seamus Power today in 5th. Shadi and Mad will be up 4 to 6. I'll get the numbers the right way around. Timothy Reed definitely ran out of fuel. He finishes in 7th. Brendan Lim will be 8th. Javier Mosquera in 9th. David Ricciardi gets 10th, last man on the lead lap, which means the following 4, well, they all had incidents out there. Gabriel Martinez in 11th. Hamilton Barrera Ruiz will be in 12th. He collected Henning Schwebeg, who retired a lap before Ruiz, and then Jack David Spickett. He had put 50 pence in the meter I can report, but that's so unfortunate, losing power right before the race.
Certainly is, and well, that's going to be the GTP field done and dusted. The GTOs then very, very tight between the top few, but it was Joran Van Hicks who took the victory ahead of Cal Young in 2nd place. Andreas Schuster and Noel Lundberg, they stayed within a second the entire 40 minutes. Josh Brain picks up 5th place in the end. He won out in that battle, just about had too much pace for Mickey Friesen in 6th, and then Fabian Youngblood and Cam Porter came together right at the very end of this race. Josephine Becker is going to be in 9th place, the first driver a lap down, and then Taylor Ballant is going to round out the top 10 in the GTO field, and then the drivers to round out the field as a whole. John Pethick and then Roman Bello were both 1 lap down. Sylvain Jaffer was 3, and then Ian Haycock's 4, with Arturus Kundalis not finishing. An unfortunate race for the number 8, who ended up 15th and last in the GTOs.
Well, we're just going to see if we get any driver coming in for an interview. But while we were waiting for that, an absolute chaotic race. And when we say chaotic, usually in IMSA Vintage, we say it's chaotic for the likes of it's a little bit of carnage out there. The only chaos out here today was, where did you have to look? You saw the top 4 all battling all through the race when it came to the GTOs. And then what a drive up the field for Valenteus. I don't think we're going to get anybody in, unfortunately, but it does give me time to just say that next week, well, if you want chaos, Oran Park Raceway next week is the home of IMSA Vintage. That has chaos in its own, but if we look at that, there is the timing, 1700 UTC, 1200 ET. There is one man who has come in for an interview. I believe Cam Porter is just trenching up. And Cam, first of all, here's a towel. I think you need it. That was a very tough and sweaty race.
Yeah, that was a crazy, hilariously fun race. Really had a blast today, especially finishing it with just one incident point. Yesterday I had a filthy race. I feel ashamed of myself. Lost some safe rating yesterday, but gained some back today. Had a hilarious race. Unfortunately, we lost the train to the lead group once the Nissans came through, but had an awesome race, really fun race with Fabian, Mickey, and Josh Breen as well. So that made it very satisfying and enjoyable.
Now, you've been here long enough. I've been here long enough. Let's talk about it. We hear Monza. We hear IMSA Vintage. We all shudder. I can see it on your face right now. The eyes raising. That's a man that has seen things around here. This was not the traditional IMSA Vintage chaos that we're used to. This was a bit of a draft fest, which I don't think anybody was expecting. Was there a game plan? Because it looked like you and Fabian would just trade, and Mickey were just trading positions. It looked like you were just accepting it. There was no go ahead or I'm not going to go ahead of you. It just looked like you were just accepting the speed difference was just going to make overtakes today.
Yeah, especially, I feel like those guys were certainly running a different set than I was. I was using Alex Ott's set, which was great in the corners, but I was getting eaten up on the straight. They were pulling me so hard in the draft, and I was just barely keeping up with them when I had the draft. So anytime I went onto the straight, I knew they were going to pass me, so I just let it happen. As long as I can stay in the draft, I can hang with these guys. These guys are usually faster than I am. So as long as I could hang with them. Although I did make a brake change recently that I think has helped my braking, so who knows, maybe you'll see me higher up in the positions in future races if I can make the broadcast race. Today was kind of special. I have something else going on tonight, so I don't know if I can make future broadcast races, but hopefully, and hopefully we have more exciting racing like that. Can't wait to watch the broadcast back.
Well, I can say that Alex has said thank you for the setup there, because one of our always usual viewers on the channel. But it's always nice to see you, Cam, out there. I've got to be brutally honest, and I did see you had a little bit of a love tap, or Mickey gave you a little bit of a love tap, but that's the nature of racing around here. I know you say you probably won't be around, but I need to get your thoughts on next week. Is Oran Park, and I think that face says it all. Yeah. Your thoughts on that race?
Well, I've actually raced that a lot in supercars. Supercars is my other main series, and if supercars can go around there, surely an Audi can go around there. Although the challenge will be the multiclass traffic, obviously. But today showed. You said there wasn't many incidents today. This is a quality field. Especially in this top split. Can't speak for the bottom split, but all these guys are amazing. You're all champions, guys, in my book. So thanks a lot for the awesome racing every week.
Cam, you're always a champion in my heart. It's great to see you once again, Cam, and we look forward to seeing you later down in the road. Congratulations on really a fantastic race out there today, and hopefully we get to see you down the road. That's Cam Porter. Finished 8th. That's not the important thing. The important thing is he had fun with great racing out there today, and we enjoyed every moment. So if you do like what you see, like I said, next week is Oran Park. We've gone over that. And I want to give a shout out to Joseph as well for joining me in the booth, and Daniel for having to control the chaos of knowing where to look on the broadcast today. Give a shout out to him. And of course, Dougie Beard for the cameras. We do have more racing this weekend. And I got to say it, Valenteus won the 49s earlier today. If you know that, he won today. That means one thing. Tomorrow, we have Lotus 79s at Spa. If he wins that, he's in a historic company. The Triple Crown is on. We'll look forward to seeing that next or tomorrow, and we hopefully hope you get to see some of you here tomorrow. If you did like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any more, because after tomorrow we'll be back next week. But the drivers get a bit of a rest. The Temple of Speed has delivered fantastic driving today. The gold standard is on top, and the gold standard might become the triple standard. What will happen tomorrow? You're going to have to watch. What will happen next week? We'll find out. Until next time, race clean and race hard. We will see you on the racetrack.
This is iRacing.